Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our important updates. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects millions of people in the UK, especially those in retirement. Recently, experts have been urging the government to make a significant change to the personal tax allowance for state pensioners, calling for a £1,000 boost. So, why is this proposal making waves, and what does it actually mean for pensioners? Let's explore it. To understand why experts are calling for this change, we need to first understand what the personal tax allowance is. In simple terms, the personal tax allowance is the amount of money you can earn each year before you start paying income tax. For most individuals in the UK, this amount is £12,570. Anything you earn above this threshold is taxed, with the rate depending on how much you earn. However, the situation is different for pensioners. Many pensioners rely heavily on their state pension, which for many is their only or primary source of income in retirement. While pensioners also get to earn up to the personal tax allowance of £12,570 without paying tax, the reality for many is that their income is often just slightly above that threshold. In these cases, pensioners may end up paying tax on their limited income, which many find to be a financial burden. Pensioners often face a unique set of challenges, especially when it comes to their finances. With the cost of living rising, many pensioners find themselves having to make tough decisions about how to manage their finances. Things like rent, food, energy bills, and healthcare costs can quickly add up, leaving little room for extra spending or savings. And while the state pension offers some relief, it's often not enough to cover all the necessary expenses. This is where the personal tax allowance comes into play. If pensioners have to pay taxes on their state pension or any other source of income, it could mean less money in their pocket at the end of the month, making it even harder to stretch their budget. Now, this is where the experts come in. Recently, several financial experts, MPs, and pensioner advocacy groups have been calling for a £1,000 boost to the personal tax allowance for state pensioners. The idea is simple but potentially game-changing. The proposal suggests that the personal tax allowance for pensioners should be increased by £1,000, which would raise the threshold to £13,570 instead of the standard £12,570. This increase might not sound like much at first glance, but for those living on a fixed income, that extra £1,000 could make a significant difference in their lives. The main argument behind this proposal is that it would provide immediate financial relief to millions of pensioners who are already struggling to make ends meet. A boost of £1,000 would allow pensioners to keep more of their income and help them cope with the rising cost of living. For many pensioners, even small changes in their income can have a profound impact. With the current cost of essentials like food, heating, and healthcare continuing to rise, this increase in the personal tax allowance could help pensioners meet those costs without having to dip into their savings or face financial stress. But what would this £1,000 boost really mean for pensioners? Well, for starters, it would mean more disposable income each month. That extra £1,000 could be used to cover a range of essential expenses. Whether it's paying for heating bills in the winter or making sure there's enough money left over for a weekly grocery shop, every bit counts when you're on a fixed income. It might also mean that pensioners could have a little more flexibility to enjoy life outside of financial worries. Maybe it would allow them to take that trip they've been dreaming about or spend more time with family without the burden of constant financial anxiety hanging over them. It's not just about the money, though. The benefits of this proposed tax allowance increase go beyond just giving pensioners a bit more cash. It's also about the quality of life. Financial security can provide a sense of peace of mind, which can be incredibly important, especially for older people. Imagine being able to pay your bills without worrying about whether you'll have enough left over for food or medicine. It sounds simple, but it's a luxury that many pensioners don't have. By increasing the personal tax allowance, the government would be acknowledging that pensioners, who have worked their entire lives and contributed to society, deserve a little extra help to make their golden years more comfortable. However, as with any proposal, there are those who raise concerns. One of the biggest issues is how such a proposal would be funded. Critics argue that any increase in the personal tax allowance would need to be paid for somehow, and they fear that this could lead to cuts in other areas of public spending. The government might need to raise taxes elsewhere or make cuts to public services, such as healthcare or social care. For many, these are essential services that pensioners rely on, so the idea of cutting them to fund a tax break doesn't sit well with everyone. There are also concerns that a £1,000 boost in the personal tax allowance might not go far enough to address the larger issues pensioners face. While it's a positive step, experts argue that a more comprehensive overhaul of the pension system is needed to truly address the financial insecurity many pensioners face. For instance, raising the state pension itself or offering additional support for those with lower pensions could have a more lasting impact. It's important to remember that this proposed boost only applies to the tax-free allowance. It doesn't address the broader issues of pension inadequacy or the rising costs of healthcare and living expenses. Still, many experts agree that it's a good starting point that could bring immediate relief. On the other hand, supporters of the proposal argue that a £1,000 boost to the personal tax allowance is an easy and effective way to help pensioners without creating too much disruption to the wider economy. It's a straightforward change that could be implemented relatively quickly and would immediately benefit millions of people. The argument is that while it's not a perfect solution, it's a step in the right direction. With so many pensioners already struggling, a £1,000 boost to their tax-free income could provide them with some much-needed breathing room. Now, let's look at the political landscape. This proposal has gained some traction in the media and among MPs. Some see it as a common-sense measure to ease the financial strain on pensioners, especially given the ongoing economic pressures facing the country. Others, however, are more skeptical, particularly regarding the cost of implementing such a change. There's always a concern about balancing the budget and ensuring that tax changes don't lead to unforeseen economic consequences. But despite these concerns, the idea of boosting the personal tax allowance for pensioners continues to resonate with many, especially those who believe that the older generation has been left behind in recent years. In practical terms, if this proposal were to go through, it would mean that pensioners would have more money in their pockets and fewer concerns about tax payments on their modest incomes. For pensioners already at or above the tax-free allowance, this would translate into tangible benefits. They would have more disposable income to spend on their everyday needs or to put towards something they've been putting off, like a family visit or an overdue home improvement. That could mean an immediate improvement in their quality of life. It's also important to consider the wider impact of this proposal. Many of the people who would benefit from this increase in the personal tax allowance are also important contributors to local economies. Pensioners spend their income on goods and services, supporting businesses and creating jobs. So, by giving them a little more money to spend, the government could help boost the local economy as well. After all, pensioners don't just save money, they spend it, which keeps money circulating in the economy. Ultimately, this proposal is about providing fairness and relief to those who have worked their entire lives and contributed to society. It's about recognizing that pensioners deserve to have financial peace of mind in their later years. The idea of increasing the personal tax allowance for pensioners by £1,000 is a simple but effective solution to a growing problem. It's a proposal that could help millions of people live more comfortably, without the constant worry of financial insecurity. For now, the future of this proposal is still uncertain. It's something that's being discussed, and depending on political will, it could be included in the next budget or become a central issue in upcoming elections. But one thing's for sure, it's starting a much-needed conversation about the financial security of pensioners and how we can ensure they don't fall through the cracks in our society. Whether or not this proposal becomes a reality, the fact that it's on the table shows that the issue of pensioner welfare is finally getting the attention it deserves. What do you think about this proposal? Would a £1,000 increase in the personal tax allowance help you or someone you know? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and share it with your friends and family.